What's going on, guys? In today's video, we are going to talk about two of my favorite industries. One is the real estate sector, and the other is going to be the crypto sector and how they intersect. Now, I know I probably just lost a lot of people when I brought up that second part because it raised a lot of red flags and is a bit scary, but there is some big things happening and really unique opportunities going forward, especially in terms of lending and how to utilize and leverage crypto assets to get real estate. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So if you find any value in what is being said, please like and subscribe to the channel. And I would love to see any comments down below if those of you have utilized any lending features on the crypto side and kind of what platforms you use in case there's some I don't know about. Now, when we talk about the crypto space, I know people tend to get uneasy, and that's especially if you haven't taken the time to understand a lot of what goes into the field or really figured out the pros and cons of things like Bitcoin. It can be a lot of a mental hurdle to overcome. Now, for me, I dove back in 2020 during COVID when the money printing was running rampant and really trying to figure out what was going on with inflation, understanding the devaluing of the US dollars, and then trying to figure out how that potentially impacted my industry with real estate and on the mortgage side when talking to clients. I think it's important as an agent that not only I know everything on the real estate side in terms of market trends and what to look for with houses, but also the financial markets and what things can impact the decisions my clients may be facing when figuring out timing for their purchase or how to go about funding those properties. Now, one of the things we've seen the past few years, especially with some peaks and valleys on the crypto space, is the evolution of how things have played out as far as the exchanges, regulatory clarity, and where it's going in the future. I think as a unique asset class that is really starting to gain traction in far as people's minds as whether that's a hedge against inflation, something like Bitcoin as a store of value, we are getting to the point where adoption is increasing. And we do have a new administration that is very pro crypto and trying to push the regulatory framework forward to make sure that is ingrained in American society and is something that the US stays on top of compared to the rest of the world and kind of ushers things in. But what does that mean for real estate? Well, the past few years, obviously we've seen a lot of highs and lows on the crypto side. We had the big run up in 2017, 2018, then a bear market, then again in 2021 and 2022, and again, bear market the past few years. And now the past 6 months, we're hitting all-time highs for a lot of things again. Bitcoin crossed $100,000. It's really kind of establishing itself as that digital gold. So people are trying to figure out, okay, maybe I got in early. I was an investor in some of these things a few years back. Let's say you bought Bitcoin at $10,000 and now it's $100,000. You want to be able to use that to go leverage and buy something else. Now, if you go to a bank, like a traditional lender, your Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and they ask you to see your assets as far as getting a mortgage, and you show them crypto, most of them are going to have no clue what to do with it or not even count those funds. I ran into this myself when I was trying to get a property a few years back, showing like, hey, I have this asset, I have a bag of assets here. It's worth X. What can you do as far as my qualifications? And none of them would count it for anything, which is not only disheartening, but makes no sense because at any time those things could be sold for liquid funds 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Very different from traditional markets. So we've seen a few companies realize, okay, there's a need for all of these people who have funds and appreciating crypto assets, but are still looking for cash to be able to go do things. And that's where the collateral posting comes in. Now we have companies like Milo.io and Figure.com in the lending space that are kind of the bigger players where you will go and post your cryptocurrencies as collateral, and they will actually look at your risk portfolio, what you're posting, and assign a loan to value and say, okay, maybe based on what your portfolio is worth, we'll give you 75% of that in cash with the assumption that you're going to go purchase a property. And here are the terms. Now, this is very advantageous for people that have maybe had massive appreciation on their crypto assets and really are long-term believers that it's going higher. You don't want to sell because anytime you sell, even if it's just transferring one cryptocurrency to another or going from crypto or Bitcoin to stablecoin like USDC, USDT, or just a dollar, that's a taxable event. So why would I want to sell an asset and pay all of this tax when I believe in it, think it's going to keep going up? No, I want to be able to borrow against it. And that's what the rich do. The millionaires and billionaires, they take their assets, they borrow against them, they get loans, which are not taxable, and then they just pay back the loans rather than selling things, paying capital gains, and having to deal with the fallout from there. So the one thing to kind of understand is when you're looking at getting a loan on the crypto side, whether it's going to buy a property or do something else, you're going to have much less favorable terms than you would see in the traditional markets because the risk is much higher. So where I would go and try to get a loan for an investment property now, maybe I'm looking somewhere in the 7 to 9% range. On the crypto side, you could be somewhere in the 15 to 20% range, depending on the lender. You're going to have to post collateral. They're still going to have origination fees. And there's also the price volatility baked into it, knowing that if I time this wrong and I post, let's say, my Bitcoin to get this loan, Bitcoin tanks a good bit, I'm going to have to post more collateral to make sure they don't liquidate my original funds, and then I'm still on the hook to pay back this loan. So there is a lot of risk that can go into it, and you have to not overextend yourself to make sure that you get to a point where if we do hit another bear market, you're not at risk of losing your original funds. But as far as pros and cons go, there are a lot of pros to just be able to have access to very quick liquidity to go buy a property if needed in as little as a week. So you don't have to go through the lending process. You don't have to go through standard approval. You don't have to worry about an appraisal. And if you're in a competitive real estate environment where there's multiple offers, all of a sudden you can take your funds, know that you can post them for collateral, and now you just have cash to go make a cash offer on a property. Best case scenario, let's say you're looking for an investment property. You want a place that you can buy, maybe fix up a little bit, get a renter in there, and then hopefully refinance and take cash out. And that way the renter pays the rent and you essentially get a property for free. This is called the BRRRR method. You buy, repair, refinance, rent, and repeat. So the idea is you're going to keep buying properties at net zero cost to you, and then you just have tenants paying your loans. So if you're posting crypto as collateral, you post it, you get cash, you go buy a property in cash, you maybe do some repairs, you then find a tenant, rent it out, and then you go to a lender and say, hey, I have a property, a tenant is paying this rent. I would like to take cash out based on the investment property. And hopefully you get to a position where the cash out refinance with a traditional lender gets you the ability to pay off your crypto collateral loan at a higher rate. And now you have a tenant in an investment property paying off a lower rate traditional mortgage that you've now put in place of the higher term crypto loan. And that's kind of a full cycle of how you can leverage your funds to actually buy properties. Now, that's not to say you can't just use crypto to buy real estate anywhere. There's plenty of intermediaries, places like Bitay that you can go to. If you have a seller that is willing to structure a purchase contract, Bitay will say, okay, we're valuing the funds at X on this day. The property is being valued at this based on the contract. You're going to send us crypto that's worth that amount. We will convert it to dollars. We will act as the intermediary and then send those dollars to the seller. And that way, one party's paying with crypto, the other is getting dollars. You just have to be willing to know that you're going to go through a taxable event to purchase that real estate asset and see if that makes sense for you. Now, I know we kind of just oversimplified this, and there's a lot of different things that go into it, especially like risk tolerance and your profile and things that you should be looking for. So if you have other questions on this, I'm happy to answer them down below. I have noticed a lot more clients, especially the past 2 years, start asking a lot more questions about the crypto space and how they can potentially get invested or use those funds and transfer it into diversifying their portfolio with real estate as well. And I think especially over the next 5 years, as we get more regulatory clarity, the lenders start evolving and finding ways to get access to a larger pool of buyers, we will start seeing this become a lot more common practice. And hopefully that does bring down some of the higher interest rates and provide favorable terms to borrowers. But I hope you found this content valuable. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you have not done already. And again, I would love to hear any success stories that you guys have had potentially borrowing in the space and utilizing crypto to make other purchases or get a loan. But until then, I'll see you on the next time, and hopefully we all land on the moon.